The educational materials presented here were developed by students and faculty of the Department of Food Science and Human Nutrition at Iowa State University. Funding for this project was provided by grants from the American Cancer Society Midwest and the Lance Armstrong Foundation. The materials are intended for educational use and are not meant to provide medical advice. We welcome your feedback about these materials. Please use the evaluation survey link on the homepage to provide your comments and suggestions.
This presentation will provide an overview of the connections between physical activity and cancer risk. I will first introduce physical activity and some of its benefits. Then I will show you evidence of the effects physical activity has on reducing the risk of colon cancer. I hope to increase your understanding of the importance of physical activity, which will help you make decisions for your own lifestyle. The American Institute for Cancer Research defines physical activity as any form of movement using skeletal muscles. It is the daily sum of all movements using skeletal muscles. Occupational physical activity includes movements required for daily life, like sitting, standing, and walking around your office or house. Physical activity can also include activities done for enjoyment or as a hobby, like walking, biking, tennis, and swimming, among many others. Exercise is a form of physical activity and includes activities you do for health and fitness. These activities are also called recreational physical activity. Examples are either aerobic, like running and dancing, that can improve cardiovascular function, or anaerobic activities like weightlifting. Another difference between physical activity and exercise is that exercise is typically done at higher intensities. Physical activity provides many benefits. First, it will help to maintain and/or reduce body weight. Research has shown significant links between weight and cancer risk. It will also help maintain and/or reduce your body mass index, or BMI, which is a measure of body weight compared to height. It is calculated by dividing an individual's weight in kilograms by their height in meters squared. Your BMI determines the weight category you are considered to be in. Underweight is a BMI of less than 18.5. Normal weight is 18.5 to 24.9. Overweight is 25 to 29.9, and obesity is a BMI of 30 or greater. Physical activity helps to burn the excess calories we take in instead of letting them turn into fat. It can also help break down the fat we currently have if we are consuming fewer calories. Research shows that body fat is linked to cancer. Physical activity helps the body increase lean muscle mass. It also helps the body retain and strengthen bone. Physical activity helps to strengthen the immune system, and it makes us feel great by enhancing mental and emotional well-being. Before I continue with this presentation, I would like to explain some terms associated with cancer. In this presentation, we will focus on risk. Risk is the likelihood of developing cancer based on lifestyle choices and family history. Prevention is the lifestyle choices an individual takes to reduce their risk of being diagnosed with cancer. And reoccurrence is the return of cancer after treatment. This presentation will focus on ways to reduce risk. Colon cancer is any cancer in the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, or sigmoid colon. Rectal cancer is cancer specifically in the rectum. Colorectal cancers refer to both colon and rectal cancers. Some studies look at both colon and rectal cancers at once, so they use the term colorectal. The research I will show you focuses on colon cancer risk. This map shows the incidence rates of colon cancer by state in 2007. The states colored with light green have the lowest rates, while those colored with dark blue have the highest. For every 100,000 people in the states colored in light green, 34 to 42 have colon cancer, while 49 to 57 people per 100,000 have colon cancer in the states colored with dark blue. In 2010, over 100,000 cases of colon cancer and almost 40,000 cases of rectal cancer were newly diagnosed. The American Institute for Cancer Research, a nonprofit organization with funding from the World Cancer Research Fund, gathered a panel of scientists to review the research done on colorectal cancer risk and physical activity and published their report in 2007. They also considered the difference in risk reduction between occupational and recreational activity. This evidence was not clear for rectal cancer. In December of 2006, a large study was completed in Europe that assessed the relationship between physical activity and colorectal cancer risk. The work was part of the European Prospective Investigation into Cancer and Nutrition, also called the EPIC study. This study examined associations between dietary, lifestyle, genetic, and environmental factors and risk of specific cancers. This study investigated both colon and rectal cancers separately and also looked at the effects of both occupational and recreational physical activity on risk reduction. This study included over 400,000 men and women who were recruited from the general public with ages ranging from 35 to 70 years. These participants came from 23 regional centers located in 10 European countries. The participants completed a questionnaire when they enrolled in the study. The questionnaire asked about diet, lifestyle, medical history, and physical activity. For physical activity, they were asked about the total amount and types. The participants were then asked to do a follow-up questionnaire with similar questions. This follow-up took place either at the date of diagnosis of colorectal cancer, death, or at the last complete follow-up, which was about 10 years later. This questionnaire had the same types of questions as the baseline questionnaire, but in the case of death, the next of kin was asked to fill out the questionnaire for the deceased. The average length of the study was 6.38 years. Let's see what the researchers discovered. As physical activity increases, the risk for colon cancer decreases. The researchers found that participants who were moderately to very active had up to 36% decreased risk for colon cancer compared to the inactive subjects. They also found there was a reduction in risk regardless of the types of activities performed. Normal weight individuals, which have a BMI between 18.5 and 25, had the greatest reduction in the risk of developing cancer with physical activity. Although with physical activity, subjects of all body sizes were able to reduce their risk for colon cancer. Let's take a look at another study. Leisure time, physical activity, body size, and colon cancer in women was another study done as part of the Nurses' Health Study. This particular study examined the effects of physical activity, BMI, and body fat distribution on the risk of colon cancer in women. Their focus was on recreational physical activity. This study used participants who were enrolled in the Nurses' Health Study database. They were all female registered nurses, 30 to 50 years old. These women provided information through questionnaires every 2 years and were asked about their personal and medical information along with the amount of time they spent per week doing a wide variety of different activities. These activities included anything from walking to aerobic dance. Any reported diagnosis of colon cancer by the participant was confirmed by hospital records. Researchers found that a BMI of 29 and over, which is considered obese, is associated with a 50% increase in the risk of colon cancer compared to those with a normal body weight. This shows the importance of maintaining a healthy body weight. And don't forget that physical activity is a key factor in controlling body weight. The researchers also discovered that increased recreational physical activity led to a decrease in risk for colon cancer of the distal colon. And just by walking 1 hour per day, the risk of colon cancer was reduced by 46%. After learning the results from these two studies, we can clearly see that it is important to work toward and/or maintain a healthy body weight to help reduce your risk of developing colon cancer. Remember, physical activity doesn't have to be intense to have an effect on colon cancer risk. Just 1 hour of walking per day can reduce your risk for colon cancer, and any form of physical activity will help reduce your risk of developing colon cancer. Now that we understand the link between physical activity and lowering the risk of colon cancer, the American College of Sports Medicine and the American Heart Association's recommendations for healthy adults who are trying to maintain their current weight are 30 minutes of moderately intense cardiovascular exercise 5 days a week and strength training exercises twice per week. Moderately intense exercise would be working hard enough to raise your heart rate and break a sweat, yet still being able to talk. They also recommend doing 8 to 10 strength training exercises with 8 to 12 repetitions of each exercise twice a week. This can be either strength or resistance training. This recommendation is slightly less than the recommendations for reducing colon cancer risk in the studies we discussed earlier in this presentation. If you recall, walking 1 hour a day reduced colon cancer risk by 46%. 30 minutes of physical activity a day is still a good goal for those who are just getting started, and 30 minutes will still be beneficial in managing weight and reduce colon cancer risk. In summary, physical activity has many benefits, including maintaining a healthy body weight, reducing body fat, increasing lean muscle mass, strengthening bone, and enhancing mental and emotional well-being. Any form of physical activity can help to reduce cancer risk, but making moderate to vigorous physical activity part of your daily lifestyle will have a greater reduction in the risk of developing cancer.